fastest
Be careful.
Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting. My co-chair Braxton, I'll let you say some words since we've clearly already started, and then we'll just get going and done as quickly as possible.
Happy holidays.
Careful that the live stream started before I realized it last time.
Yeah, from what we're hearing, it's already begun. So with that, Mr. Fenton, if you could quickly take us through today's agenda as we're in this Christmas holiday and would like to then continue on with our days.
Thank you, Mr. Bakari. Thank you, committee members, for being here today. We have exactly one issue on the agenda today, and that is to hear the committee referral on the Citizens Justice Advisory Group. And this is the referral that was made to the committee back in August. It was part of the Safe Charlotte initiative. And staff, if you could get the presentation loaded up, please. Well, I'll go ahead and begin while this is being brought up. Next slide, please. The policy question that was referred to you regarding the Criminal Justice Advisory Group, again, was one of several made due to the Safe Charlotte initiative. And the policy question before you is to define the city's role in collaborating on the Criminal Justice Advisory Group, as well as opportunity to collaborate with Mecklenburg County on re-entry. Next slide, please. I want to provide a little bit of information to you about the Criminal Justice Advisory Group. It was created by Mecklenburg County in 2005 as an informal forum where criminal justice system leaders engage in systemic planning and coordination. And the mission statement is listed below for the group. Next slide, please. This is a list. This shows all the different position holders who are part of the Criminal Justice Advisory Group. As you can see at the top left, the chairperson is the county manager's designee. Right now, that is the county manager's chief of staff, Mr. Ramos. And there are two representatives from the city who serve on the group. One is a city manager's designee, and the second is the police chief of the city of Charlotte. I would like to add that Chief Jennings is here with us today, as well as Mr. Randolph from the Community Relations Committee. Next slide, please. There is an executive committee of the Criminal Justice Advisory Group composed of 9 members, including the police chief of Charlotte. And they have a couple different roles, including setting the meeting agendas, establish any standing committees, and monitor the progress of the group. Next slide, please. There are 11 goals and objectives outlined in the charter that was established by Mecklenburg County. This charter was, I believe it was updated perhaps in 2017. I'm not going to read these off to you, but essentially what the goals and objectives try to do is to coordinate all the different players who are in the criminal justice system. As you notice from that chart a few slides back, quite a few of the position holders are in different entities. You have some people who work for Mecklenburg County. You have some people who work for the state of North Carolina. They're part of the court system. And there are quite a few different court-related agencies who are part of that. There are some elected officials like the district attorney and the sheriff and some of the judges who are elected to their positions. And in addition to that, you have the city and the 6 towns that are represented. So there really is a need to bring some coordination to the various facets of the criminal justice system. Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about the city participation in CJAG. I've had discussions with both the city manager and police chief, and they are committed to collaborating with the criminal justice system through the Criminal Justice Advisory Group. And they view this group as a venue to seek other perspectives on criminal justice issues. And there is also an opportunity here to identify greater opportunities for the city to exercise an appropriate role in reentry issues. Next slide, please. Of course, reentry was the second part of this referral. And reentry is a broad term used to refer to issues related to the transition of criminal offenders from prison to community supervision. And the following statistic is something that many of you probably saw in the Great Neighborhoods Committee. Approximately 8% of urban and suburban adult populations have a felony record. That's about 55,000 people here in Mecklenburg County, including the city of Charlotte, of course. And the whole thing about reentry, this has been an area that the state of North Carolina and Mecklenburg have traditionally exercised a greater role in than the city has. Next slide, please. There are a few things I want to bring you just to highlight for you in the area of reentry. The Community Relations Committee can investigate complaints filed by persons with criminal records related to fair housing. There was guidance issued by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, several years ago regarding the standards to be used for evaluating the criminal records by providers of housing and real estate related transactions. And this is something that we can do because of the substantial equivalency status that we have in our Fair Housing Charter. And also right now the Great Neighborhoods Committee is currently considering an opportunity to provide housing education services for landlords and people who are exiting prison in the court system. This referral has already been heard at least once, I believe, in the Great Neighborhoods Committee, and tentatively it is to be scheduled for further discussion at their next meeting in January. And both of these are examples of how the city can participate in reentry issues. Next slide, please. So getting back down to the staff recommendation, staff is recommending that the city manager and police chief continue participating in CJAG to collaborate with the criminal justice system and to seek other perspectives on criminal justice issues, and that also CJAG be utilized to identify further potential areas of opportunity to collaborate with Mecklenburg County on reentry issues. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will stop and I just will remind everybody that Chief Jennings is on this call, as well as Willie Ratchford from the Community Relations Committee. Be glad to stand for any questions.
Thank you. I'll start with a quick question, and then I'll toss it over to my co-chair, and we'll go from there. This is for Chief Jennings. Chief, just in your blunt gut opinion, how should we be thinking about CJAG holistically? Do we utilize it the right amount, not enough, more than we should? And is it an effective means of outcomes, and what might those be?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I spoke with Dana a couple occasions on this, and really see the value in it. Just to be perfectly transparent with you, I just recently started being more involved with CJAG. I've known about it for several years, but as far as me participating, it's just been recently. But what I can tell you is that the value, whether it's me speaking with other major city chiefs, which we have a group that we bounce things off of and have those discussions, or with CJAG, or even with splinter groups that I meet with some of the CJAG members separate from our CJAG meetings. To me, they're very valuable to be able to get some guidance and direction, and also give guidance and direction for other agencies. But to be able to collaborate and work together on a lot of different issues that we can help, I think it's important for us to continue that relationship.
Mr. Winston, would you like to ask any questions or toss it around to the others?
Yeah, and absolutely. I think my first question was going to ask Chief Jennings to give us some feedback on his interaction. I did want to take a little time to give some comments and concerns and questions. I think we can all see by the organizations that are represented at the CJAG table that these are the entities that the city government needs to collaborate with, to work with and within policy areas and policy priorities that we have, as Chief Jennings echoed right there. I first became aware of this during Chief Putney's some of the conversations that we had, I think during a couple of budget cycles ago, and this kind of predates the Charlotte Safe Communities efforts that we started in last January. That there was I had a complaint, and others of colleagues had a complaint that felt like we were going at these things, these transformative policy potential changes alone, and there wasn't this table. And Chief Putney corrected me and us and said, no, there is in fact this table, CJAG, that doesn't necessarily work well. So I've taken it on myself to show up to those meetings and to learn about why that table hasn't been working as effective. And to be completely honest, I saw some frustration on behalf of CMPD and the manager's office with the interactions with this group over the past couple of years. And as I've been able to observe what's been going on, I understand the source of our police department and manager's office frustration. I think there are some things that are rightfully so. While this group has a lot of potential, there's some serious changes that I think need to be made. And quite honestly, I think we are going to have to take it upon ourselves to try to figure out ways to work within the county's leadership and the leadership of CJAG to implement. Without mincing words, I stand by the chief and the manager's commitment to staying at this table, but I don't want to waste their time. There are a lot of different places that they have to be, and a lot of things that we have, a lot of things that we've given them to handle. This group, CJAG, needs to be better managed. The past couple of times, and over the past couple of years, our manager has showed up to this meeting, only to be surprised to know that he is actually on the agenda to make a presentation. That group was not working with our staff to form the agenda, and we didn't become aware of the agenda until about 7:30 the night before. That can't happen if this is going to be an effective work group. Our staff needs to be prepared and included in that action. The manager, the chief, and the council, particularly this committee, needs to be better aligned as we kind of strategize on how to work with and within this group. As Dana put up there's a bunch of people and a bunch of groups and a bunch of organizations that we need to work with. But the way CJAG is set up is that you have a mix of elected and appointed officials. So you do have folks like the sheriff and the DA and the chief judge at the table who are able to kind of exist within kind of policy directives and create them at the same time. You can see how a situation where an organization like us that is dependent on the council manager form of government that works within specific policy directives, and it doesn't necessarily allow appointed positions to kind of freelance. We have to figure out ways to more effectively and powerfully use the makeup of that group. So all that to say that I'm grateful for the chief and the manager's commitment to this group, but we as the council and department heads need to work together to figure out how to actually make that meeting to meeting the most highest and best use of our time. And I don't think we're there yet. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Eggleston, Larkin Eggleston? None from you? So with that, Dana, anything else? Go ahead.
I would ask Chief Jennings, do you have any feedback to that at all?
No, I actually appreciate your comments, because I do think that if we are going to participate, then it needs to be time well spent and meaningful. I do feel like we can make it happen to where it does get to that point. And I think that some of the players at the table that are there can make that happen. I do know some of the members on CJAG. I actually meet with many of them individually or in other meetings as well. So those are some things that that I think that I can help move forward with them and work with them to make sure that these meetings are something that's very meaningful and necessary.
Well, I think you highlighted the point. You definitely are meeting with people individually, but the whole point of this group is that there should be some type of power or efficiency of everybody at the table together. For instance, I really feel like our Safe Charlotte plan will need the kind of buy-in and kind of agenda time over time to make it successful with CJAG. I don't know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, and I don't, to be honest, like I told Dana, I've always looked at it, an advisory group, just as the name states, and, is there any teeth behind the advice that comes out of this, or what are we just having discussions on different ideas and policy ideas and things, or are there things that we can basically put our hands around? And those are things that I anticipate getting more involved and knowing more about as I am able to attend more meetings and things as well.
Thank you.
With that, Dana, do you want to tell us anything else?
Yes, Mr. Picari, there are a couple of staff recommendations on that last slide, and you are scheduled to report out on this at the January 4th strategy session of the City Council. So I think maybe perhaps a motion is in order to adopt these as recommendations to provide to the City Council.
Can we just get the slide up real quick?
Yeah, let's pop that up again.
That's slide number 11. The slide should be up momentarily. And I'll just read to you the two staff recommendations. The first one is that the city manager and police chief continue participating in the criminal justice advisory group to collaborate with the criminal justice system and to seek other perspectives on criminal justice issues. The second one is that the criminal justice advisory group be utilized to identify further potential areas of opportunity to collaborate with Mecklenburg County on reentry issues.
Motion to adopt.
The chief is chief. It seems innocent. I just, without being as versed in all of this, there are no unintended consequences I'm missing to pushing that forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are not. I've spoken with Mr. Fenton prior to this on some of those recommendations as well. And I do think that it's something that we can continue to evaluate, even far beyond these recommendations. But I'd like to see some of the things that Mr. Winston had talked about. I'd like to see some of those kind of come forward as well. And see how we can continue to improve CJAG and what we get out of these meetings. But I don't see any unintended consequences based on these recommendations.
Okay. Second.
I feel like there's something missing here. I think there need, well, obviously this is staff's recommendation, but what I would like to, I guess, put forward to the council is that we have to deal with some type of language that says we have to kind of visit or work with the council has to work with the police chief and the manager from time to time to kind of deal with or evaluate what's going on at CJAG in our committee. I think that should be something that is part of the workflow, even after this committee isn't here. You know what I mean? This duration of our committee, I should say. 3 years from now, 3 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do both. If, as long as this is a way to move the ball forward for Dana, perhaps that can be one of your primary next steps, Dana, which is establish a cadence by which this committee can be updated, involved, whatever, rather than us jump the gun now and try to weave that in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so we've got a motion and seconded. Are we all three in favor? I, you, M. Well, that's unanimous.
Okay.
Or anonymous. Okay, it passes. Dana, close us out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee, for allowing us to present and for making that motion. The last thing I want to point out is that our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 19th. We will need to reschedule the time of day for that meeting because we are in conflict with another council committee which has dibs on that particular day of the week. So we will be working with the council members after the first of the year when everybody is here to determine the correct time for it that day. And if needed, we might need to reschedule it for a different day that week. But our intent is to try to have a meeting that third week of January.
Sounds
Thank you,
good.
Mr. Chairman.
Is there any update on the potential meeting with our state delegation?
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Winston, because just a few minutes before coming down here for the meeting, I did get an email from the delegation chair. And it looks like we could have a meeting here in a couple of weeks. I know that staff had queried council members about a particular date and time. And right now I'm blanking as to what that date and time is. I apologize for that. I just quickly saw the email before coming down here.
Thank you. So good.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I think, can we hear a motion to close?
I moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That's it. Merry Christmas, Santa Claus.
Thank you, committee. Have a great holiday.